Age of Empires 2, the classic RTS game that dominated the PC gaming market during the early 2000s. I think I can say with confidence that many of us have grown up playing this beloved strategy game based on the medieval era, and you probably remember many iconic aspects of the game, from the passionate voices of Lahir,
Lahir wishes to kill something,
the mythical Wololo sound effect, or the 11th taunt. And to think that 25 years later, people still play this game. It's still getting updates, and there are even professional tournaments going on is something that only a few games can brag about. And more crazy than that, people played the game even before the definitive edition was released, or even the HD edition if you know what I'm talking about. And the history behind all of this is nothing but impressive. So in today's video, I'm going to go through all the crazy history this game has lived. From the beginnings, the time was forgotten, to its sudden rise back to relevancy, to its actual state. So let's get started, shall we? Everything started in 1995, with the foundation of Ensemble Studios by Tony Goodman. They will soon start developing a project which they call Dawn of Man, soon to be known as Age of Empires. The game was pitched as a real-time strategy game with a historical basis, based mainly on ancient antiquity, where you have the choice between 12 civilizations and need to age up from the Stone Age to Iron Age. Also, on October 15, 1997, Ensemble, and with the help of Microsoft, would launch Age of Empires to the market, and it was an instant success. It managed to sell 3 million copies by the 2000s, and it was one of the best PC games that Microsoft have ever published back in the time.
We actually put together a presentation for them. We said, look, here's the sales of all your games put together except for the Age of Empires series. And here's the Age of Empires series. You notice that it sells more than every other game put together, but we literally outsold all their non-Flight Simulator games, and that just got their goat.
After the successful launch of Age of Empires, the Ensemble team decided to make a sequel by reusing the game's code and engine, the Genie engine, so they could launch it within a year. But this didn't happen, and development time got lengthened by a year, as they tried to fix as many issues they had with the previous game, as well as trying to add new features and quality of life features, but eventually. On the 27th of September 1999, the much awaited sequel Age of Empires 2, The Age of Kings would officially launch, and it was a massive success. As you probably know, Age of Empires 2 is an RTS game based this time in the medieval age, following the foundation as its predecessor, where you need to age up from the Dark Age to the Feudal Age, the Castle Age, and finally the Imperial Age. But there are new additions and changes from Age of Empires 1, including the addition of formations, a bigger focus on defense play, with villains having much higher HP, as well as the addition of gates and a much better pathfinding. There are also new units, of course, based in the Middle Ages, like the crossbowman, the champion, or the knight. But there are also new types of units added to the game called unique units, which are unique for each civilization. Talking about thieves, the game originally launched with just 13 thieves, which are the Britons, Byzantines, Celts, Chinese, Franks, Goths, Japanese, Mongols, Persians, Saracens, Teutons, Dogs, and Vikings. And there are many things and features that I won't talk about here, just to save time, since you pretty much know what the game is about. So, how popular was the game at launch? Well, The Age of Kings was one of the top-selling games in 1999, managing to sell close to 450,000 copies in that year alone, and by 2000s, Microsoft reported to have sold 2 million copies. The game was selling hot. In terms of reviews, it scored a 92 in Metacritic, was appraised in many game reviews publications, and managed to get various Game of the Year and Best PC Game awards. But I think the most important thing that makes the game unforgettable for us is, well, the charm and love that was put into the game. A great example of this are the campaigns, with the incredible voice acting of characters like here, or certain moments and scenes like the opening of the first mission of Genghis Khan.
Behold, the horde of Genghis Khan approaches.
Oh, and how could I forget about the cheats? Is the AI giving you a hard time? Don't worry, just type how do you turn this on into the chat a few times and destroy the enemy with cover cars. These things is what makes Age of Empires 2 unique from all the games of that period. After the launch of the Age of Kings, the Ensemble Studios team decided to do an expansion for the game. After all, it has worked for them very well for Age of Empires 1 with the Rise of Rome expansion. Also, on the 25th of August, at the dawn of the new millennium, Ensemble would release the Conquerors expansion for Age of Empires 2. And of course, it became an instant success, selling about 800,000 copies in just 6 years, and getting praises from the critics. This new expansion added the Aztecs, Huns, Koreans, Mayans, and the Spanish. New map styles like the jungle biome, new campaigns like Moctezuma, El Cid, Attila the Hun, and the inclusion of single scenarios back in the Battle of Conquerors, and many improvements and additions such as queuing farm reseeding, which is an improvement over nothing, but only delays inevitable. There are also new unique units for the new thieves, but also other units I thought there were in the original game, like the Hussar, Halberdier, or Petards. The addition of unique texts that can be researched in the castle in the Imperial Age is what surprised me the most to discover that we added in the Conquerors, as well as Thumbring and Bloodlines. Clearly, I haven't never played Age of Kings as it was launched originally. During the 2000s, H2 was the hot game for PC gamers alike, and since it has multiplayer, many people would have met up, set up the game and played together, whether it was free-for-all, team games or custom scenarios. It was a vibrant community, with many sharing their many creations from mods to entire campaigns, random maps and very breathtaking scenarios, all shared in many communities, one of the most important ones being the AOK Humans forums, where pretty much everyone interested in Age of Empires 2 was at the time. But tragically, an event will mark for many people the end of Age of Empires 2, with the closure of the MSN Game Zone on June 19, 2006. This would lead to the closure of all multiplayer services that the game had at the time. The game's future looked grim, as it would have ended up as abandonware as many other games of the era. However, many fans on the chat decided to make their own claims to play multiplayer with people from far away from them, with the likes of Game Ranger for PC in 2008, or the client that a lot of people know, Bubbly, launched in 2007 in direct response of Microsoft closing the MSN Game Zone. And so, the game keeps going on, but now the player numbers are dwindling, with an example from a snapshot of Bubbly back in 2009. There were only 11 people playing Age of Empires 2, right in the evening time for North America. This is because as the game kept aging with time, people did too. Many just grew up from playing video games on the PC, moved with their life and left the game altogether. Only the most dedicated fans kept playing H2 for the time being. As the few players kept the game alive, many have spotted some bugs and issues with the game, as well as some aspects of it need to be improved upon. One of them was with the introduction of the new aero theme in Windows Vista and Windows 7. This screwed up games that used the old 256 color palette graphics. This include Age of Empires 2, which made it look like this. And I've gotta say, this brings up memories as I've played the game like this, thinking it was normal that it looked like that. Anyways, a small group of the AI community wanted to improve the game's AI, but as they dug deeper into the game's code, they noticed many issues. The project started to grow bigger and bigger. as they fixed bugs not related to the AI, as well as adding certain features like support for other resolutions. And so, User Patch was born, with the initial beta release of User Patch 1.1 being launched the 9th of May 2011, and the subsequent full release of 1.2 on the 5th of April 2013, with many patches coming much later on. While this was going on, a single person would start alongside a small project that would shape the future of the game. It was the summer of 2011. A 20-year-old bartender with the name of Bert Beekman was reading through one of the tutorials from AOK Heavens from a Taiwanese guide on how to add an additional civilization into the game, but with great difficulty as the tool he was using was all in Chinese. With trial and error, he finally managed to do it, although the game was very unstable. With this initial success, he worked hard to add 5 new civilizations without making the game explode. In the end, he managed to do it without issues, with the final thieves being added being the Incas, Indians, Italians, Magyars and Slavs. And as the time passed, the scope of the project was getting bigger and bigger, and so he started getting the help of the Age of Empires 2 community. First, he was using the graphics of some smaller mods at a time. Later, there was some talk about the game's balance.
Following. But there was a conversation about it. I still remember saying, like, I don't think this game should have any balance changes. We should just try to evolve the game tactically. And I'm very happy that I changed my mind there completely. Because indeed, after some time, you do see some things getting stale. You do see the same things over and over again. You do see some civilizations just having no viability at all.
And on the 20th of February 2012, Cysion would release the trailer for the Forgotten Empires that would garner at the time about 100,000 views and promised to be released in the same year. So the time was ticking, and this one solo project has now an entire team working day and night trying to finish the mod for the 2012 deadline, improving the graphics, music, and ensuring the mod was in working condition and was properly balanced, as they wanted to at least match the quality of the Conqueror's expansion. And so, on the 28th of December 2012, the mod will officially release to the public.
But you know, it's pretty ironic to think about it now, but when you guys finally released the Forgotten Empires mod in 2012, after a while, I clearly remember thinking the release was a major failure. And the reason I thought this was because barely anyone was playing it on Voobly, and being as ignorant as I was back then, I thought that if something was not successful on Voobly, then it had to be a failure. Well, what I did not know was that the mod would go on to hit 1 million downloads, which must have been mind-blowing, even for you. Now, the
mod was an instant success, and with this, the team decided to contact Microsoft to see if they were interested in it. Little did they know, Microsoft was already working on a remaster for Age of Empires 2 for modern PCs. Back in the 7th of March 2013, Microsoft announced a remaster for Age of Empires 2 called Age of Empires 2 HD Edition. It was released on the 9th of April of the same year. Now, I would simply say it is and move on with the history, but to be honest, the fact that the announcement was not advertised very extensively, apart from some articles here and there and some Twitter posts, was a weird thing for me. So I've decided to research the development behind the HD edition, and I managed to find out the original developers of the remaster, a studio called Hidden Path Entertainment, which, fun fact, they were also the original developers of Counter-Strike Global Offensive, or CSGO, so yeah, they knew how to make a good game. And with that information, I've decided to contact them to see if I could get some answers. I wrote and sent an email and tweeted, expecting my email to be just ignored. But a few weeks later, he responded, and so here's the answer to one of my questions. Why did you decide to make this remaster? Were you contacted by Microsoft to do it, or did this project start by yourself at first? One of Hidden Path co-founders was Mark Terno, who had been the lead designer of the original Age of Empires 2 years earlier at Ensemble Entertainment. That was one of the key connections to working on the game update. Another was programmer Matt Pritchard, who had been at Ensemble and for the original game's development and had been talking on and off with Microsoft about modernizing Age of Empires 2. The talks with Microsoft became more serious when Matt joined Hidden Path. Plus, Microsoft told us that they felt more comfortable having multiple people who were familiar with the game. A third factor was Microsoft had already started experimenting with releasing some of their PC games on Steam, and having successful sales there just before this started. Because of that, Microsoft was more open to this idea than they had been in the past. So, partially it was done to make a quick buck, but in reality it was a project spearheaded by some of the original developers from Ensemble Studios. And my best guess is that they wanted for players who played the game before to return to the game with ease. Back with Forgotten Empires team, after getting into contract with Microsoft, they started to discuss adding the Forgotten Empires mod as an official expansion for Age of Empires 2 HD Edition. And they said yes, so the team was in full swing again, this time polishing the mod so it really is up to the standards of an official expansion. And so on the 7th of November 2013, after more than 10 years in the last official expansion, we would get the Forgotten's expansion. With this one, there were 5 new thieves that I've mentioned before. New units applied to Slinger, which was the hand cannon variation for the Incas, the Imperial Camel, an upgrade exclusive to Indians, and the Condottiero, available for Italians and all the allies in the barracks, as well as some other units exclusive for the scenario editor and some additional wild animals. This is also the introduction of Castle Lade's unique text for all shifts. Sorry goths, you really had to say your quirkiness to everyone. We also had a brand new AI made by Promi, although some said it wasn't that great, and the campaigns. Oh, the campaigns. So infamous for being an RPG grindy mess. I won't talk about them since I've never played the original ones from the Forgotten, but just search for Viper's gameplay of Honfongalas or Odlus gameplay of the original HD scenario of Bari, specifically the Rebellion of Melus. With the release of the HD edition being a bigger success than Microsoft expected, interest in the game grew considerably. Although, one of the things that would bring back a lot of old players back to the game is YouTube. At this time, somewhere around 2012 and 2016, YouTube would suddenly recommend certain Age of Empires 2 videos, and some of them would become viral hits, exposing the game to a wide audience, many of them returning to the game in some way or another. And I think there are 3 people who would be the main reason many people came back flocking to Age of Empires 2. One of the pillars for this Age of Empires 2 YouTube boom is a British man with the name Zach Robinson, more known online as ZeroEmpires, who would start his channel in 2011. His content was mainly based on commentating different matches from average players to pro players like Toad or the Viper back then, with his style of commentating based on a StarCraft 2 caster named Total Biscuit.
I would watch Total Biscuit casting StarCraft 2, and I think it just appealed to me because the way that he spoke about the game, I know in retrospect that he wasn't maybe the most knowledgeable person about StarCraft 2, but it really appealed to me because he made it entertaining and he made it approachable, and he had that really clear voice that I could just understand, and it felt really easy to listen to.
His channel, one of the first Age of Empires 2 YouTube channels dedicated to commentating matches, and so he would be the reason many people came back to Age of Empires 2 back in the late 2000s and early 2010s.
You probably don't even know this, but when people signed up to Vobly, they were asked how they found out about Vobly, and we obviously kept track of the answers, and ZeroEmpires was by far the most frequent one, by far.
Wow.
Although on the 22nd of November 2014, he would upload a video called I Have No Words for This Game, a 6-player free-for-all match becoming the first Age of Empires 2 video to become viral on YouTube, with close to 2 million views. Impressive numbers for a game like Age of Empires 2 with a small community back in the day. During this time, another channel would pop up. A Canadian mathematician would create a channel on the 13th of October 2014. under the name Spirit of the Law, and he would do something different at that time. That would be discussing and analyzing certain gameplay aspects of the game and what he's most well known for, doing thief overviews.
Which you said when you created your channel, like 80% of YouTube content related to Age of Empires 2 was just gameplay with someone commentating over it. So was that also a motivating factor that you wanted to offer something different?
I think it was more like that was sort of my original vision as well. Like if you look at those earliest videos, a lot of them are that me commentating my own games or somebody else's.
Mhm.
And I think it was more just the other stuff just struck a chord that people wanted that higher production value. And
Mhm.
nobody was really doing that at the time. Like nobody sat down,
Right.
had any sort of outline what they were going to talk about. I
Mhm.
think that novelty of somebody doing it more professionally than just
Mhm.
live off the cuff, I think that struck a chord. And that was a big factor in sort of those
Mhm.
early
Mhm.
days.
And this type of content is what popped on YouTube for a lot of people, including me. This content was more accessible for the more casual public, as it's easy to watch and understand as he talks about interesting topics from game mechanics to just silly questions. And due to this, many of his videos have more than 1 million views and is one of the biggest Age of Empires 2 content creators up to this day. But last but not least, we have another caster that would be the most important for Age of Empires 2 in the future. On the 17th of January 2015, an American of the name Tristan Berry would create a YouTube channel with the name of T19XYB. I would upload his commentary on different pro matches from the HD edition, heavily inspired by ZeroEmpires.
But I would say there's been many inspirations along the way. I don't think that I would have started if it was not for ZeroEmpires, because he was pretty much the only way that I discovered that it was happening. Who would have thought an old game like that would have someone talking about it? I just didn't know that was a thing. So like singular inspiration, definitely him.
And because HD had a cumbersome way to spectate games, he would just ask those players to email their recordings.
Like there was no proper spectating system or anything on HD, but I would just message high-level players, like high-level HD players, like 2K. I'm like, hey, can you email me these recorded games? And so I started using Fraps to record games, and that's what I did for a bit.
He did that for a while, but he wanted to cast actual pro players back at the time, like the Viper, and so he contacted to Nonsensical91 to help him out on streaming, and with that, on the 7th of June 2015, he would create his Twitch account, and he started streaming. And with a stroke of luck, on the 27th of August 2016, T90 will upload to his YouTube channel a commentary on a match he did on one of his streams on a map called Forest Nothing. A map where there's nothing but forest, that's it. But with the magic of the YouTube algorithm, his video would become viral, with the video getting close to 2 million views and catapulting T90's streaming career and becoming one of the most important casters for H2, and that will be very important in the future. And with this, the interest of the game was slowly but steadily increasing to these years, with these YouTube channels being one of the main reasons people started playing the game again after years of leaving it behind. As the popularity of the game started to come back with time, the team of the Forgotten Empire started to work on new expansions for the HD edition. The next expansion would be the African Kingdoms, released on the 5th of November 2015, based mainly on the African continent, adding 4 new thieves: the Berbers, Ethiopians, Malians and Portuguese. We also had a rework on naval combat in Feudal Age, adding the Fire Galley and Demolition Raft, bringing the rock paper scissors dynamic there is on Castle Age into Feudal. And of course, these 2 new ships are the precursors of the ships from the Castle Age. And of course, we cannot forget the new campaigns, which are better than the forgotten ones, but some of them still bad. I'm looking at you, Tariq. And later on the 19th of December 2016, we will have the last HD expansion, Rise of the Rajas, based mainly on the Southern Asia region, adding 4 new thieves as per usual, with the Burmese, Khmer, Malay and Vietnamese. You also had new terrain, with special mention of the new amphibious terrain where you can build buildings in them and water units can go through them. You know what that leads to. We also had 4 new campaigns, which were alright. I really have nothing more to say.
But the cracks
Of the HD version were starting to show, especially if you played multiplayer. If you've ever played multiplayer games in HD, you know the infamy it had. Constant dancings left and right, the classic waiting for players window which would appear if somebody had a crappy internet connection or lived in the other side of the world like Australia. Since the game's multiplayer was still based on peer-to-peer connection, aka you connected directly to people's computer without a centralized server, if somebody's internet was slowing down, it would directly affect everyone on the match, and just the lag that the matches was generally a really awful experience. It was an infuriating system for many, and so those who wanted to play more professionally or just wanted to avoid all of this just migrated to a different multiplayer service, which back then was Bubbly. Bubbly at this time was extremely popular since back in 2013, when they provided the 1.4 user patch, a big collection of improvements and corrections that made the original game much more enjoyable than even the HD edition. There are also many other improvements like better networking, which makes the connection issues appear much less frequently, and a substantial improvement on the spectating system. And migrating to Bubbly was becoming much easier than before, with the Wololo Kingdoms tool, which allowed Bubbly players to pay with the HD expansions with the balance changes and additions, as well as tools that allow to convert the HD edition to a version compatible with Bubbly, like AoE2 tools, which became the de facto tool to switch versions. And so, we had two different versions which people were playing on. The HD edition, where everyone who rediscovered the game went to as it was easy to buy and install through Steam, and the Bubbly version, were more dedicated for those who are into the multiplayer part of the game, leaving the community divided. But something on the horizon would change this entirely. On the PC Gaming Conference at E3 of 2017, you will get an interesting announcement regarding the Age of Empires franchise.
Big day for Age of Empires fans. Hi guys, I'm Joe Holmes. I'm the community manager for the Age of Empires franchise, and I'm so excited to finally share this news with you guys. Today at the PC Gaming Showcase at E3 2017, we finally announced Age of Empires Definitive Edition. That's right, 20 years after it was first released, we are bringing back the original Age of Empires with all new updates.
And after a delay, the game would release the 19th of August 2018, exclusive for the Microsoft Store, for some reason. But anyways, some aspects of this new remaster of the original Age of Empires will pique interest in the Age of Empires 2 community.
Then we also need to hey, but the fans play Age of Empires 1 because it is Age of Empires 1. So we want to make sure that we keep the spirit of Age of Empires 1, the code to be the same. So we ended up using a blend. We actually updated the engine instead of creating a new engine. We did do some experiment of do a new engine for a little bit, but then really quickly you find out that they are timing the feel of it. Keeping the feel is very important to us because that's what the fans want, right?
The fact that they simply improved upon the old Genie engine was a good indication that they would do a new remaster of Age 2. After all, as I've mentioned before, Age 2 reused the engine and big part of the code from the original Age of Empires 1. And so people were speculating not if they were going to make a remaster, but more when it's going to release. And so we will get our answers at the Xbox conference at E3 of 2019.
Gaming.
The infamous conference where Keanu Reeves was trying to sell a Cyberpunk 2077. Anyways, during this conference, we will get something that shook the entire community.
Do you remember a time when armies were built and powerful cities collapsed? When the smallest of choices echoed through the pages of history. It was an age of empires.
Age of Empires 2 was getting definitive. and during these days we will get gameplay footage on how this new version will look like, as well as being able to try out the game early at the E3. Everyone was very excited, and for very good reasons. The game has so many new features and quality of life improvements, which are the following. New and improved 3D graphics, and you can zoom now. You can now queue different technologies. Auto-farm reseeding, smart selection, global queue, better pathfinding, gates, now you can rotate them. New sounds, voice acting and remastered soundtracks, destruction animations, new Sith emblems to easily recognize them. You know multiplayer? Now it's server-based so your modem doesn't slow anyone's game, and including to that a new ranked matchmaking system that automatically matches you with people of your same skill level. For campaign lovers, now you can see your objectives without needing to constantly open the objectives tab and even see timers. Wanna get good? A new campaign called The Art of War with Sun Tzu will teach you many things related to the game, like unique counters, early game, and booming. And best of all, you know all those previous expansions? Well, they are now included in the game. And those awfully forgotten scenarios? Throw it in the trash because they are now called remade. Now, this is a great bundle, but just for you, will include you a brand new expansion called The Last Guns, with 4 new thieves, with the Bulgarians, Cumans, Lithuanians and Tartars, 3 unit campaigns, and new units like the Steppe Lancer. This can be all yours for the low price of $19.99. You heard it right, $19.99. So go now and get your copy of the brand new Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition today. That was a lot of new things added to the game, but everyone was very excited with it. And so on the 14th of November 2019, DE would launch, and it was an instant success, with 26,000 people playing during the week of launch, just on Steam. Of course, the launch wasn't perfect. There were some issues like the pathfinding being mediocre at best, or how the new thieves were kinda busted, especially the Cumans, to the point where the Spiffing Bridge, a YouTuber known to exploit games and services, talked about it, featuring T90. But over the time, with patches and balance changes, it was fixed. With the release of the Definitive Edition being a massive success, surpassing the expectations of the developers, work on new updates and especially a new expansion was on the works as of 2020. Oh wait, what's this? A new virus has popped up in China? Oh well, I hope it doesn't cause anything serious. And now we are locked up in our homes. Great. Now I need to kill some time now. Maybe it's time to play Age of Empires 2 again. As many of us were complying with the lockdowns of March 2020, many didn't have anything better to do than play some games, for example. And many of us chose Age of Empires 2, either because they already had it or just discovered it while trying to find a new game. And so H2 would see an incredible influx of players into the game, reaching up to one point with 27,927 concurrent players on HC and 34,622 concurrent players on DE, just on Steam, without even counting those who played on Bully. And guess what? While this was happening, T90 was hosting a pro tournament during the lockdown. The 19th of March to the 22nd, T90 will cast live on his Twitch channel one of his renowned pro tournaments called Hidden Cup 3, a 1v1 bracket style tournament with a twist that all the players' identities were hidden, meaning that nobody knew who they were until the end of the tournament. The qualifiers were played weeks in advance, but he would struck luck as the days of the tournament happened just when we were all locked up in our houses. And as well as Microsoft, the main sponsor of the tournament, was advertising it on all the ways possible, meaning viewership would be very high. And oh boy, it was really high. During these 3 days of the tournament, it would break records never seen on Age of Empires 2 before, and on the grand finals, with a final match of Khoitan Khan vs Saladin, on one point we would get 51,303 concurrent viewers watching the intense match live. Numbers never seen on a Age of Empires 2 tournament ever before. In the end, Saladin, who was the Viper, result victorious and win the tournament against Khoisan Khan, who was Hera. These were crazy numbers, but it doesn't end here. The next year, lockdowns would repeat again for many countries around the world, and many would flock back to Age of Empires 2, and Definitive Edition would break a record, reaching 38,725 concurrent players just on Steam, mind you. The numbers would be even higher if we counted Xbox players. And guess what? T90 would do the 4th edition of Hidden Cup from the 18th of March to the 21st, and it would break all the previous records set by Hidden Cup 3, reaching up to 63,954 concurrent viewers watching the matches live between Admiral Sun Sin, who was Jordan, and Jorn the Fearless, who was Hera. And I think that at this moment I can confidently say that Age of Empires 2 was so back in terms of popularity. The game became an icon back when it was released 25 years ago, and nowadays the popularity of the game has nothing but increased during these times. All players return back to the game, but most important, new players join the game, contributing to the game and the community at large. The game has now become timeless. After the situation with the virus calmed down around the world, many people returned to their normal lives and couldn't dedicate that much time to the game, and the player numbers reflected that, but it still manages to have a high and consistent player count even on these days, being the most popular Age of Empires game in the franchise. Also, after the Definitive Edition's launch, the game would receive numerous expansions, so let's quickly go through all of them. First we have the Lords of the West, released the 26th of January 2021, and in just 2 thieves, the Burgundians and Sicilians, 3 new campaigns, and that's pretty much it. Originally, the DLC was criticized due to the use of one-use unique text for these new thieves, especially Flemish Revolution, which would convert all your villages into Flemish militia. After seeing their response, the devs quickly changed them and learned from for future expansions. Then we got the Dawn of the Dukes, released the 10th of August 2021, and the Bohemians and the Poles. We also got new units like the legendary Wing Hussars for the Lithuanians and Poles, and 3 new campaigns which are, in my opinion, the best set of campaigns I've ever played. Like, come on, the story and narration of Jodiga is superb, and the fact that all 3 campaigns are interconnected makes it more immersive. Later we will get the Dynasties of India expansion, released the 28th of April 2022, dividing the old Indian civilization into 4 new thieves, the Bengalis, Dravidians, Gujaras, and Hindustanis. The latter was given to everyone for free, and was very well received with the community as it was very requested. We also got 3 new campaigns. The Prithviraj campaign was tweaked with the Gujaras thief, and all but the Hindustanis will get new regional units like the Siege Elephant or the Elephant Archer. Then on the 31st of January 2023, they will release Definitive Edition on Xbox consoles, which, fun fact, isn't the first time the game was released on consoles. That goes to the PlayStation 2 port, released in 2001, which, if you look at it, yeah, it doesn't look or play great. But this time they changed the UI so it's more playable with a controller, and I gotta say, good job porting an RTS to consoles. It apparently plays quite well. Now here comes a weird expansion, Return of Rome, released on the 16th of May 2023, which pretty much was a port of the original Age of Empires 1 to the Age of Empires 2 engine, adding the quality of life features the game has. Also, we got 3 new original campaigns for this Age of Empires 1 mode, and for Age of Empires 2 players, they just added the romance of all the thieves they could add. Well, and if the multiplayer lobbies of Return of Rome can tell us about the popularity of this game mode, well, yeah, nobody plays this. Like, why would you do that? The next expansion in line is the Mountain Royals, released the 31st of October 2023, adding 2 new thieves, the Armenians and Georgians, as well as Petersen being completely reworked and given to everyone. We also had 3 new campaigns as usual. The expansion is fine for all means, but the price really turned many people off. After all, the previous expansions are cheaper and have exactly the same amount of content. And the last expansion we will get at this time is Petersen Vanquish, released the 14th of March 2024, a campaign-focused expansion which had no new thieves. It only adds 19 scenarios with the same style of the historical battle scenarios. I'm not getting into much detail about this expansion, as I already have a video talking about it, but in a few words, it sucks. It's really bad. Apart from that it's just 14 already existing scenarios free to download with 5 unique ones, many of them are just massive but empty and extremely boring. A very disappointing expansion to me, since the idea of the scenario only expansion would have been very cool if it was done properly. So here we are right now, with Age of Empires 2 about to celebrate its 25th anniversary since it was originally launched, and it's very much still alive, with many professional tournaments coming on the horizon like Red Bull Bololo El Reinado. And whilst yeah, people like to complain about the game system like the pathfinding, which seems to always be broken, or how subpar the multiplayer features are, which are fair criticisms, I think we sometimes have to appreciate the work that many devs have put into the game over these 25 years. For the Ensemble Studios team for making the game, for many people in the community fixing the game years after the launch, for the Forgotten Empires team for continuing developing the game, for the original developers of the HD edition, for those who worked hard in making Bully possible, to everyone who contributed on the definitive edition, all deserve some praise for making this legendary game, making it timeless, and for future generations to enjoy the charm of Age of Empires 2. But I think there's a group that deserves all the praise for keeping the game alive for all these years, and I let you, one of the devs of the HD edition, tell you about it. Do you think that the HD edition helped shape the future of the Age of Empires franchise to what it is now? Obviously, Microsoft has gone further with mod updates, mod expansions and mod iterations of Age of Empires since this effort with many different development studios. I'm not sure that we shaped the future of anything, but our development did create an opportunity for the fanbase to respond to the game with many years later, and that response was significant. It's always the players that really shape the future of any entertainment. The community is what kept the game alive. They are responsible for what the game is now today. From those players who kept playing Age of Empires 2 even when people moved away from PC games, the many tournaments that were arranged back in those times, the content creators who brought back many people to the game. The sheer amount of people Age of Empires is what made Microsoft make the definitive editions. The community made what the game is now. And to think that you and I, in a way, contributed to the game as a whole, just brings me a smile to my face. And so, thank you guys for watching the video. This took me weeks, if not months of work to put this together. I have to thank those who made my research easier. You can check all the sources that I used for the video in the description. If you like this video, give it a like. And if you want more content like this, maybe consider subscribing. And before I end this video, I have some words to say. Happy 25th birthday, Age of Empires 2. May you live as a legendary piece of media that everyone will remember for future generations.